You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. So the Manning Passing Academy was this past weekend at Thibodeau, and it was the 27th Manning Passing Academy. Archie, Peyton, Eli, Cooper, all of the Mannings get together, and it's down at Nichols, and it's attracted quarterbacks from all over the country. It's the preeminent skills camp for quarterbacks. We all know what it is, and we're very familiar. One of the really cool things about the Manning Passing Academy is that the Manning Passing Academy every year allows the media to come down, and they get to talk to a lot of the players. And then they have like skills competitions, and they rank the quarterbacks and grade them and all that sort of stuff. And it was a really good year for the LSU players. As a matter of fact, LSU had not one but two quarterbacks participate. Now, part of the reason that's possible is just proximity. There's certainly other programs in the country that have multiple really good quarterbacks that are able to participate in the Manning Passing Academy, but LSU's proximity to Thibodeau allows them to sometimes bring more by invitation. As a matter of fact, we've seen that in the past where LSU's had multiple quarterbacks down at the Manning Passing Academy. If I'm not mistaken, I think Burrow and Miles Brennan both went back in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. And for whatever it's worth, On3 Sports put out their rankings of the standouts. I don't even know if this is a ranking necessarily, just as a list of the quarterbacks that stood out. They mentioned Joe Milton from Tennessee, Drake May from North Carolina, Michael Penix, who won one of the skills competitions there with the Mannings, Quinn Ewers out of Texas, Devin Leary, the NC State transfer, who's now at Kentucky, and then both LSU quarterbacks, Jayden Daniels, Garrett Nussmeier, and Riley Leonard from Duke. Probably the best quarterback that nobody knows who he is in the country is Riley Leonard, big old 6'5", strong-arm kid who is a really talented player. Just nobody really quite honestly pays much attention to Duke for reasons I think we all understand. But what was interesting was, aside from all the skills competition and everything that goes on at the Manning Passing Academy, there are media opportunities, and the local media here took time to chat with Jayden Daniels. And Jayden Daniels did exceptionally well there at the Manning Passing Academy. And he, of course, took note of the championships won by both previous second-year head coaches, Kim Mulkey and Jay Johnson. Had this to say.
We want to be the next. The baseball team is going to come back and take it home, and, we're going to be next to go out there and take it one game at a time and showcase our talents.
So that, of course, was on Saturday before the baseball team had polished off its national championship, which they would go on to do. But Daniels talked a lot. He talked about going into year two at LSU and a lot of different stuff, which I want to get to. But the thing he said kind of at the end of his media session is the thing that got a lot of attention this past weekend. Give a listen to what Jayden Daniels had to say.
We have the best quarterback room in the country. I'll put us against anybody in the country. For us, we're tight. Not just us, but Rickie Collins. I treat him like my little brother. So just seeing him be able to grow day in and day out, coming in as a true freshman, trying to just learn how to live on his own, even though he's from Baton Rouge, but it's different living on your own, and just how to maneuver, how to treat things professionally. So, it'll just say that how tight we are. That's just a blessing for us because, most people don't really get this in their room of just guys that just want to see each other be successful at the end of the day.
Alondra, can you just play the very beginning of that again for those that might have missed it? It was a 41-second clip, but really the most important part was like the first 5 seconds. Play it again.
We have the best quarterback room in the country.
That's it. Jayden Daniels said, we have the best quarterback room in the country. Now, LSU was the only program there that had two quarterbacks at the Manning Passing Academy. And I love, by the way, the comments that Jayden Daniels made about Garrett Nussmeier. As a matter of fact, can you play 6, please? This was what Jayden had to say about Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah, like I said before, me and Nuss, we have a tight relationship. a lot of people might not really, they might, from the outside, you might see it as a quarterback competition. You know, we see it, we just want both of us to get better. He knows his role, I know my role. You know, when his name and number is called, I know he's preparing already because it's the work he puts in and day out, just to change his body, change his mentality. So after this year, you know, it'll be his turn to go in there and light things up. You know, I can't wait to see that. You know, I'm proud of him and how he's handled things. So going out there and just seeing the work that he's put in day out.
First of all, it's very good that LSU's quarterbacks get along so well, because that could be a toxic situation. We've talked plenty about Garrett Nussmeier and his journey and the fact that he is continuing to stick it out at LSU in an era where it's never been easier to leave, and people would quite honestly understand if Garrett Nussmeier had decided to jump ship and go seek an opportunity elsewhere. That's just the nature of the quarterback position in today's college football, but he's a guy who clearly has decided he's staying at LSU. He'll wait it out this year, and then it'll be his turn. But I want to go back to Jayden Daniels' comments about LSU having the best quarterback room in the country. I don't know that I could say that, because you have some quarterback rooms that include the best quarterbacks in the country, like Southern Cal has Caleb Williams, and North Carolina has Drake May. What LSU certainly has is depth that not everybody has. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier already has 150 passing attempts in his career, in his 2 seasons in Baton Rouge. I mean, he's a guy that had an opportunity to play the entire second half of the SEC championship game against Georgia. So LSU's got depth. But so does a place like Ole Miss. Spencer Sanders, a fifth-year player who's been a starter his entire career at Oklahoma State, transfers in. Jackson Dart, who started for Ole Miss a year ago, transferred him from USC and then started last year at Ole Miss. Walker Howard was a 5-star. I mean, Ole Miss has great depth as well. Again, I completely am okay with Jayden Daniels pumping up his guys, pumping up his team, and believing in his team. I'm not in any way disparaging. Like, I'm not saying, like what do you want him to say? No, we think we're okay, but there's so many that are better. No, of course not. So that's not the point that I'm making here. I think with Jayden, though, and the comments that he made that I thought were interesting. By the way, hat tip to Crescent City Sports on the audio. So attribution to Crescent City Sports on the audio. What I will say is, well, I don't know that I would say that LSU has the best quarterback room in the country. What I think I'm comfortable saying is LSU's got the best quarterback room in the SEC. And I don't know that I really had to think long and hard about that. Because if you actually look at the SEC for this year, off the top of your head, who's got a better starting quarterback than LSU? I just mentioned Spencer Sanders at Ole Miss, who's played a lot of football during his time at Oklahoma State. You could look around the league and you could say, well, Devin Leary, who had been at NC State transferring into Kentucky, although that's a new situation, a different situation. We know the answer is not Alabama with Jalen Milroe or Ty Simpson. I'm not sure Connor Wigman at Texas A&M is going to garner any attention as the best quarterback in the league. Auburn's a mess. Will Rogers at Mississippi State, he's got some good passing statistics under Mike Leach's offense, but what's that going to look like this year? I don't know. Really, the only guy that I would say you could maybe have a legitimate argument for would be KJ Jefferson at Arkansas, because he's in the same boat as Jayden in that both of those guys are fifth-year players. Your KJ is back for a fifth season, as is Jayden. The difference is KJ didn't become a starter till year 3, so he's a 2-year starter. Whereas Jayden Daniels is entering year 5 as a starter. He started every game as a freshman at Arizona State and has started his entire career since. So, yeah, I would make a really strong argument. And by the way, it's not just about numbers, but Jayden Daniels, or having played that long, Jayden Daniels has started all 43 games in which he's played. KJ Jefferson has 26 starts. So Jayden has started 17 more games than KJ Jefferson. Jayden Daniels has thrown for 3,000 more yards than KJ Jefferson, 5,800 to 8,900. Jayden Daniels is 63 yards away from throwing for 9,000 yards in his career. He'll blow past 10,000 yards passing in his career. Jaden's got 49 touchdown passes, KJ 48 touchdown passes, and you might say, well, look at the rushing yards because KJ Jefferson is a really good running quarterback, big physical guy. Jayden Daniels has run for 700 more yards in his career than KJ Jefferson, 1,400 to 2,100. So in any way you look at it, experience, passing yardage, rushing yardage, wins, Jayden Daniels has had a more productive career than KJ Jefferson. So going into this season, if you're looking for more reason to be optimistic about LSU, that's it. I mean, there isn't a year that I can remember where at the start of the season we would have said LSU's got the best quarterback in the conference. I know Joe Burrow became that. He became the best player any of us ever saw. But coming out of 2018, our conversation wasn't going into 2019, Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the country, Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the SEC. That wasn't a realistic conversation we were having. Joe Burrow had a very pedestrian 2018 and then had a really good finish to 2018. The 7 overtime game against Texas A&M, threw for 300 yards in the bowl game, in that Fiesta Bowl, and it was a nice springboard into 2019, but we weren't having a conversation about Burrow being the best in the conference. Certainly not the best in the country. We can legitimately have that conversation about Jayden Daniels today. That's another reason why, if you're betting on the Tigers this year, you've got good reason to do so. Now, maybe Spencer Sanders at Ole Miss allows them to be a better team than I'm giving them credit for being. Maybe one of the 3 guys at Alabama figures it out and takes hold of that job. Maybe Will Rogers has a monster blow-up season this year. Maybe Spencer Rattler uses the late season success when they beat Tennessee and beat Clemson and uses that as a springboard into this season to realize the potential many had 2 years ago when he was a projected number 1 pick. Maybe it is Joe Milton, who is the physical freak athlete who started at Michigan and went to Tennessee and lost out the starting job battle to Hendon Hooker. Well, now it's his turn. And maybe that's there. Those are a lot of maybes. With Jayden Daniels, I know. I know what he is. And if he keeps improving at an incremental rate that he has throughout his career, there's a reason to believe he's going to be awesome next year or this year at LSU. A lot of reason to be excited about Jayden Daniels. Maybe LSU doesn't have the best quarterback room in the country, but I would argue they have the best quarterback room in the SEC. And if the SEC is the best league in America, then you're making a very compelling case for LSU to be right in the mix for the national championship with Jayden Daniels under center. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.